Hey everyone, I've got news for you. I bought a pickup. All right, giveaway opportunity. We're calling this one Bud on the Shelf. Okay, you wanna participate? Absolutely. See this little tractor right here? That's a 1/64 scale model of a Big Bud 525/50. Kind of like this 600/50 Big Bud that I'm standing next to. It's gonna be hidden randomly in every video in the month of December. So you guys keep an eye out for it. And when you see it, leave us a comment in that video of a timestamp sitting there like at time blah, 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 blah. This tractor was blah, 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 blah. And we will randomly pick one of you guys to win a t-shirt of your choice from our website. Pretty cool, huh? Make sure though, that you like the video and you're subscribed to the channel. Those are two qualifying things you have to do. And we will randomly pick one of you and we'll leave a comment under your comment and say, hey, email us, you're the winner. And we'll go from there. Sound good, guys? So here she is, ready to go into the lift because I've got plans for this pickup. Reason why I decided to go with this pickup was, for one, it's a half ton, so it's gonna ride nicer, but it's got the 6.2 in it, so it can have the power it needs to pull when necessary. So here's my plan for this pickup. I'm gonna put all new shock absorbers for the whole thing, Bilsteins. That's gonna do a little bit of lift to it. I'm gonna put airbags in the back, and then I'm gonna put a fifth wheel hitch inside the bed. And if all goes to plan, I should be able to adjust the ride height as needed from inside the cab. So if I get a heavy fifth wheel in the back, I can add a little air to the bags, lift the back up, be able to pull when needed. Though this pickup is not gonna do a lot of pulling. I just want it to be able to pull when needed because there's times where we gotta go on a trip, pull our gooseneck somewhere. It doesn't have to be a heavy load. I think this truck's rated at just over 9,000 pounds towing capacity. Probably won't push it that hard. It'll just be for small things here and there, but I wanna be able to do it because we've got two goosenecks on the farm and only really one pickup is set up to actually go the distance. That's my dad's and I don't want to use his every time. So this pickup 90% of the time is not going to be pulling a fifth wheel, but when it does, or a gooseneck, I want it to be able to do it. So down here, I've got my stuff. We've got some Bilstein shocks. I love Bilsteins. They're like pretty much the best you can get for the buck. There's definitely better than that, but those are the bargain. They're a good deal. These front ones, I can adjust the ride height on them, so I'm gonna max that out. It'll add about 2 inches to the front. And then with the back, I've got airbags and of course some shocks as well. And the airbags, theoretically, when I get all said and done, I should be able to lift the back up by adding a few PSI, probably like 10 or so PSI in the back. We'll see where it's at, get it leveled out right. And that way I'll have a little bit higher clearance because this pickup does ride a little low. I wouldn't mind a little taller. And then I've got new tires coming too, those aren't here yet. And then my fifth wheel kit, which is right here. So I'll be able to add that, install, and get a ball in the back. But this is gonna be a tricky install because I'm still not 100% functional. My right hand for my finger dislocation from a couple days ago is still there and tender. So I'm gonna try what I can. It's gonna be slow. I'm gonna have to try things differently this time around because my right hand's not gonna be that functional. But we'll get there, we'll get it done. And if I don't, I guess I'll recruit leg arms because he's getting, no, that's right. He doesn't have a good arm either. Dad, I'll give Dad a call. All right. Let's lift it up, take the rear wheels off, take the spare wheel out, and get it ready. I think I'm gonna start with the fifth wheel hitch first. Get that in, and then start tearing into the suspension. Oh yeah, let's go. I'm just now installing the brackets that hold those top plates to the frame, and I gotta drill holes because I bought the cheaper kit, which means I have to drill new holes in the frame instead of using existing bolt holes, but it's kind of cool. I got these. It's like a wire with a spring on the end of it. I don't know if any of you have seen those before, but basically I thread it on the bolt, and then when I drill the hole, I can use an existing access hole in the frame. I'll show you in a second here. Let me thread this on like that. There, see? So then I feed the wire through this hole right here, come out of my bracket hole that I just drilled, and I can pull the bolt right through. There we go. There we go. One down, 3 to go. So I got the first one in. Now for the second one, but let's go ahead and get the actual mount there, the bracket, whatever you call that, the fifth wheel gooseneck adapter plate. I'll drop that in, and then we can use this as our guide to figure out the spacing for that second bracket, and then I can go to town on drilling holes. Right before I left last night, I started opening up some of my packages here, kind of looking at what I'm going to be expecting to endure trying to put these airbags on. And I came across this front and center when I opened it up. And it's basically telling me that these airbags cannot stand this axle being dropped 100% like it is right now. So it says don't lift the pickup from the frame because your rear axle will then fall down, especially with the weight of tires on it too, which will then cause the airbags to stretch beyond what they're intended for, which can cause premature failure. And I'm like, well, that stinks because, well, I wanted to install them on here, and two, I want to be able to use this lift in the future. So if I put these airbags on, then if I lift this truck, it's basically saying you can't lift without lifting off the axle. Well, this lift doesn't do that. It's not like a 4-post lift or anything. So that's kind of a tricky situation. But I think I have an idea for that. I'll still drop this down. I'll install most of the airbags, at least get as much as I can before I have to lift the axle up. But I think what I'm gonna do is there's some good places under here where I could actually make a small chain, a pretty heavy chain, little short length, and have it hook onto the frame up in one of these spots, drop down under the axle and hook back up again on both sides. So there'd be 2 chains, and that way I'd put that on when I first roll the pickup in, right before I lift it, I'd climb underneath there, hook the chains to the frame, then slowly lift. And technically those chains, being heavy enough and attached to the frame, should keep that axle from dropping down. It should take the pressure of these leaves, and then that way it'll keep that axle from overextending, which then lets me use the lift. Kind of hit a crossroads here. I'm at a point where it wants me to connect the airbag to the upper bracket. And if I do that, I gotta have the axle compressed, which means I gotta lower this down, which means I gotta put the wheels back on it. So I think I'm gonna switch plans here. I'm gonna stop at my airbag installation, and I'm gonna switch over to shocks, put all the Bilstein shocks on, take the front wheels off, and put the new on these as well, which means I gotta compress the coils. That's kind of a sketchy deal if you don't do that right. Fortunately, I've got a lot of good compressing tools, so I should be able to be fine there. Get those shocks in, and I'm gonna change all the diff oil, the transfer case oil, and then that legendary 8L90 transmission that everybody loves so much, that I've got, even though the oil was changed about 30,000 miles ago in it, new fluid was flush put in. I just wanna make sure it's got that new Mobil 1 synthetic, the blue label that everybody says is the one that'll help your transmission run better. So I've got that on order. I don't have it yet, so next week I'll drop that and do that. But for now, if I can get the rear end transfer case and all the shocks on, then I will drop it down and mess with the airbags. So let's go to shocks. Oh, shiny. I love installing the back ones. It takes like 2 minutes. Nice and quick. Now for the dreaded front coilovers. Let's go. All right, success. There she be. That wasn't too bad. Now, this is the part that can be a little sketchy. So I gotta take a compressor and I'm gonna put one on one side and then on the other. It's gonna squeeze this coil spring together just enough to take the tension off the shock absorber. So then I can start taking apart the ends of the shock absorber, pull this whole assembly out, take the coil spring, put it aside, get the new Bilstein, put it in, assemble all the pieces, and then take the tension off, and then put it back in there. I think these might be a little light for the size of coil that I'm compressing here, so I doubled up. As you can see, I got 4 on there. A little extra security. I noticed it was starting to put a curl to the threaded bolt here, so it's like, I'm just gonna put 2 more on there because I've got them. So it's got 4 across it. I think I'm just starting to make a gap over here so I can start taking this apart. But yeah, fun stuff. So just kind of slowly tighten along, keep tension on all of them. But just looking at this, that just doesn't even look like this is meant for a lot lighter spring. Guess we'll make do. One thing that's pretty cool is these Bilsteins have this snap ring right here. It's almost like a piston ring, and you can unclip it and move it to 4 different settings on here. This bottom's OEM, and this top is almost a 2-inch increase in your lift. So I'm gonna put it to the top because that pickup sits pretty low, honestly. So with this and the combination of the airbags, I should be able to level that truck out and have it sit a few inches taller off the ground, which is great because out here on the farm, not everything's nice and concrete and level. Okay, do this without stabbing myself. The first 2 rings went over easy. Ow, I almost had it. Come on, I almost had it. There it goes. Did them with my fingernail. This one I had to go and get a pick. There we go. Oh, I scratched it. Right, it'll buff. Okay, it should be together. The nut's on, everything's assembled. I made a mistake the first time around. I had this piece flipped upside down. I was like, there's no way it's gonna fit. But then I realized my mistake, fixed it. So let's back this off. I'm gonna slowly take the pressure off these. Let's do a couple of times. There we go. That there is together. Let's go put it back on. Sure looks nice in there. 1 down, 1 to go. The little Ranchos are off. The Bilsteins are on. Is there something on my face? Oh, maybe not. I always have something on my face. I'm gonna lift it up one more time. I'm gonna change the oils now, and the diffs, and the transfer case. Then I'll put the wheels in the back, drop it down, get the weight off that axle, and, or I should say, put the weight on that axle, then install the airbags, do some plumbing, and then wait for a new set of tires to come. Put the tires on it, go rip up some roads. All right, to my best of my knowledge, those airbags are installed correctly. So I'm gonna try to lift it up. It said not to. It said my warranty will be voided if I do. I just wanna see how much those bags really do stretch. It doesn't look like they're gonna stretch that much at all, honestly. I've got this thing, I don't know, I really think so, because I want it up so I can get under there to finish the airlines. So I'm gonna try it. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do much more than that. Still weight on this? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let it back down. I didn't like that. It did look like it was stretching a little bit. I didn't go all the way up, but I'm gonna try something different here. Boom. So I lifted it from the frame, but as you can see, I've got it chained on that side, and I've got this little chain wrapped around my new bracket I put in for the 5th wheel, and it's wrapped and attached to the back of the new bracket I put up for that. And it lifted that axle up really quick. So those airbags are pretty much free floating. All right, new rubber. Let's get it on. right, guys, what do you think? Did I do a good job? I always got to put a little bit of work into everything I get. Can't have it stock. It just doesn't make sense. So I think it's going to work out really well. I can air the bags up when I need, when I've got a load, and I can let them down when I'm just cruising down the road and I'm not carrying anything and I don't need a rough ride. So far, so good. It's got about a 3-inch lift across the whole thing with the Bilstein shocks and those airbags. So I'm really happy with that. It was a little low to the ground to begin with, so that's nice to have here on the farm. I'll probably lose a bit of mileage, but you know what? I'd rather have a little more clearance than extra mileage if it means driving around the farm. This truck ought to get the job done, so expect to see a lot of this in the future, guys. Okay, take care, God bless. I'm gonna go drive around and burn some gas. Later.